Hi guys, you're about to watch the free podcast of the Young Turks, fun for everybody. Now, you understand that there's only two of our segments. We do a live 2-hour show every day, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
And if you want to hear the entire show, all you have to do is become a member. Sign up by going to TYT-network.com.
You can go under member options to become a member, and when you do that, it's totally convenient. You can either stream or download the show, audio or video. Plus, you get more of our network shows. There's no ads whatsoever, and you help support the show. So, TYTnetwork.com. We'll see you there. I make a lot of big ones, I make a lot of little ones. We got some great stories today. Did you guys see the basketball story? I don't even want to say the guy's name. You know, if you saw it, you know it. Oh my God. It's just, don't miss the second hour. There's a phenomenal story. I don't even want to say too much because you'll rush to the internet and you'll find out. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. All right, come back. We'll talk about it in the second hour. Okay, anyways, lots of fun things in today's, in first hour as well. It turns out, you're going to be shocked to find out, Christian fundamentalists believes that Ebola is God's plague. Of course it is, but he's got some unique theories as to what it's going to do. I can't quite figure out how, but we will talk about that a little bit later. And of course, as usual, I have some sad stories. And actually, I have a shocking news story that I was wrong about, but I'm going to tell you about that in a second. Anyways, I just want to play this. This clip will be used at some point in the show today in a story. Go.
Let me look. The key for me is to keep expectations low.
Look. Shut the fuck up and look. Okay. Keys to keep expectations low. That's actually for a second hour story, and it is one of the more fascinating stories of the day. A lot of things are fascinating in this show. You know why? Because we talk about the news, and the news is fascinating. All right, let's go forward, and I start with shocking news. I am thrilled to report today that I was wrong. Yesterday, I talked about the Yazidi. There's 40,000 of them trapped a mile high on a mountain in northern Iraq. It is basically in and near the Kurdish area. It is not exactly controlled by the Kurds at this point. It was, but ISIS has run them out of that area. And it is an absolute tragedy. These people are stuck. And at the bottom of the mountain is ISIS. And ISIS, of course, Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. They want to establish an Islamic caliphate. They find the Yazidis, which are a different religion, to be devil worshippers because they believe in the peacock angel. God help us all. And if they go down the mountain, they're going to get beheaded. If they stay up on the mountain, they're running out of food and water and they're going to die. And yesterday I said it was one of the most haunting stories because it was nearly inconceivable that anyone would help them. The world, since the Kurdish Peshmerga could not hold the area, the world was likely to just leave them there, which was such an unbelievable tragedy. You know what happened today? Turns out there was hope. Now, this is an interesting twist. You know who came to help them? We did, the United States of America. New York Times reporting, we've been bombing ISIS at the bottom of the mountain, and so that the Yazidi can escape. Now, I know that we don't want to get intermingled in Iraq, and I'm the first person to say that. And are we concerned about getting more military intervention in Iraq, which has been a mess, and the more we intervened, the more of a mess it became? Sure, of course, right? But am I glad that they bombed ISIS sitting in the bottom of the mountain? You betcha. Look, if this was the only bombings we did, see, then the world might like us a hell of a lot more. And that's relevant so that they don't bomb us, okay? I know conservatives hate it when the world likes us. Think about that for a second, okay? But it's actually not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And conservatives should be thrilled about this. I mean, he bombed the most radical Islamic jihadists there are in the world, okay? So I just think that's why I'm not just a person who believes in blanket statements, black and white. You never do military intervention. You always do military intervention. It depends. I think that if you're a smart person, you have to do nuance. And in this case, it was an issue that called for nuance. I'm in favor of the bombings. So I hope the Yazidi have a path to escape off that mountaintop now and get some help. so they don't starve, so they don't die of thirst, or they don't die from ISIS. So it turns out there was a cavalry, it was us, and we have arrived. No ground troops, believe me, nobody's in favor of that. But for the moment being, we hope to have cleared a path for the Yazidi to escape. That's 40,000 people, including men, women, and children. Isn't it nice for a change to be the good guys in the world? I mean, if we can somehow get them to escape off that mountain with their lives intact, my guess is that the Yazidi will love us forever. And they're an incredibly small minority group that has really no power. They didn't dislike us to begin with. But doing good in the world is the right thing anyway, right? And it has reverberations. And since the Yazidi are at least ethnically Kurdish, they're not the same religion as most of the Kurds. Most of the Kurds are Sunni Muslim. The Yazidi are a different religion altogether. But my guess is the Kurds would significantly appreciate it. And might they do favorable oil deals with us in return? They have significant oil in northern Iraq where the Kurds rule, sure. But they were probably going to do those deals anyway. It's just good to do good for goodness sake. And even in the most ironic way, by doing bombings. I'm sure that others will disagree and say the consequences will be worse, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, okay, but this is why sometimes I'm a mild interventionist, because sometimes there's 40,000 people trapped on top of a mountain, and somebody's got to help them. And I'm proud when it's America. All right. You know, now I'm so used to criticism and a barrage of criticism on every story that I'm waiting for that. Like in that case, my guess is going to be liberals. Like, oh, Jake, no, the consequences at the and then it's not going to work, and then ISIS is going to hate us. Yeah, I got news for you. ISIS is not big fans of us anyway. Today, I put out a tweet about how conservatives all over Twitter like, Hamas, it's all their fault for getting their civilians killed. It wasn't even Israel, it was Hamas because they fire from densely populated area. But Gaza is densely populated, so where are they supposed to fire from? They say, oh, they should go out in the middle of there's some open areas. They should go out there in the middle of the open areas and so that they could get killed. Yeah, I know, but that's why they're not going to go out there. I don't think they should fire any rockets, right? But that's why they're not going to go in the middle of the desert and fire the rocket there, because they'd get killed immediately. They should put on a military uniform. You know who doesn't let them put on a military uniform? Israel. And if they did a military base, which the tweeters, conservative tweeters suggested, you know what would happen? That military base would be immediately annihilated by Israel. Just put some thought behind it. So anyway, I got a barrage of criticism from the right wing on that. But then I also got criticism from the other side saying, well, you're saying Hamas shouldn't be able to defend itself because you're saying you shouldn't fire any rockets. Oh, yeah. Okay, now apparently the guy who's stuck in the middle with me is President Obama, to some degree at least. So let's talk about that. President Obama at a press conference today, he mentioned the plight of the Palestinians. So, of course, everybody's going to get angry. Okay, it seems like reasonable statements to me. Let's watch.
Gaza cannot sustain itself permanently, closed off from the world, and incapable of providing some opportunity, jobs, economic growth for the population that lives there, particularly given how dense that population is, how young that population is. We're going to have to see a shift in opportunity for the people of Gaza. I have no sympathy for Hamas. I have great sympathy for ordinary people who are struggling within Gaza.
Okay, when I first saw that, I literally read that article and thought, how in the world are they going to criticize this? Because he said, I have no sympathy for Hamas, but I do have sympathy for ordinary Palestinians living there. But they got to find a way, right? I mean, number one, Obama's wrong about everything, if you listen to Fox News and other conservatives. And number two, how dare you show any sympathy for anyone on the Palestinian side? But they can't really say that, can they? All right, so let's find out what they are going to say. Let's go to Fox News.
He's talking about Hamas. He has no sympathy for Hamas. His own State Department says it's a terrorist organization. He said the placing of weapons among the civilians is irresponsible. It's a bloody war crime. I mean, there's no passion, there's no interest, there's nothing behind it. You have to wonder, why did he hold the press conference? I'm not sure that he advanced any issue at all other than to show adversaries, bad guys in the world, that you don't have to worry about this guy. He's going on vacation. He's grabbing the golf clubs.
Okay, but wait a minute. He's like, you know, his own State Department says that they're a terrorist organization. And so does Obama. He said, I have no sympathy for them. They're like, ah, you see that? He said he had no sympathy for them. I don't get it. He says they're a terrorist organization and he has no sympathy for them. How is that contradictory? Apparently he didn't say it, he didn't yell it. Because later you heard Krauthammer say, not enough passion. Oh, I'm sorry. Was he supposed to scream? All right, and then he said, oh, he calls Hamas irresponsible. It's a war crime. Yeah, which is irresponsible. Okay, I mean, did you need him to say bloody irresponsible, maniacally irresponsible? By the way, the United Nations, which says that what Hamas is doing, firing from civilian areas, is a possible war crime, also says that Israel firing into UN schools and shelters is also a possible war crime. So now, are they going to be upset at President Obama for not calling the actions of Israel a war crime? My guess is if they did that, if he did that, Fox News' head would explode. How could you call it a war crime? But wait a minute, it's the same group that calls what Hamas did and Israel did possible war crimes. Now, of course, they're not going to mention that on Fox News. But here the president said they were wrong. He has no sympathy for them. They're irresponsible. Nope, not good enough. Yeah, went to go play golf. So what was he supposed to do? Irresponsible, yell it. No sympathy! And now I will go punch someone in the face. Oh, Fox is like, yeah, all right, there you go. There you go. Who are you going to punch in the face? Like, do you have a Hamas guy? No, a random guy. I'm going to fight in the hallway. And you know what? Fox News was like, yeah, if you're mad at Hamas, you should punch a random guy. That's logic. At least conservative logic. Okay. Here we go. I'm going on. That's it. That's all I got on Hamas. Oh, thanks God. Whew. Okay. We move forward. No, we skipped that one, Jesus. We're going to come back to that one. Let's go to the next one. Okay. But we stay on Obama derangement syndrome. Now, Sam Brownback's governor of Kansas, he had a primary against, obviously, another Republican, Jennifer Witt. He won fairly handily, 63.3% to 36.7%, but it was still a bit of a surprise because it's a deeply Republican state. Sam Brownback is both an establishment figure in a way. He was former senator and obviously the current governor, but he's also very much beloved by the Tea Party, so he really should have had no challenge whatsoever. So it was a bit of a surprise that his opponent wound up getting 36.7% of the vote. So they're like, whoa, that was kind of interesting. I seem to have come out of nowhere. So they asked Sam Brownback, why did you perform poorer than expected? Get a load of his answer.
What's going on within the Republican Party here in Kansas? Why is there at least some degree of dissatisfaction with the folks who have been representing them from the Republican side?
Well, I think a big part of it is Barack Obama, that a lot of people are so irritated at what the president is doing. They just are, they want somebody to throw a brick, and just they're irritated about what has happened to their country.
So wait, let me get this right. You hate Obama. They voted against you. Why? Because they don't like Obama? I guess that would be conservative logic. I don't know what you're talking about. They didn't vote against Obama. They voted against you. Okay. Now, the reality is Sam Brownback has become fairly unpopular in Kansas. Why? Because he did all the conservative wet dreams. He lowered taxes for the rich. And he said, oh, it's going to create a lot of jobs. And guess what? It did not create a lot of jobs. In fact, Kansas has been significantly lagging the rest of the country in terms of economic recovery. And he's created a huge deficit. What happened? I thought it was going to trickle down and then magically government revenue was going to rise up. But he's got to balance the budget in Kansas. So with this giant deficit, what's he doing? He's cutting education like crazy. And it turns out in Kansas, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, they don't really like it when you cut their kids' education to give the rich tax breaks. Oops. Right now, he's trailing a Democrat in the state of Kansas for the governorship in the general election. So it's not that they don't like Obama, it's that they don't like you. But nope, it's always Obama. When pressed further on it, he did have one other quote. Brownback said, I think it's a lot of deep irritation with the way the president has taken the country. And that has to do with a Kansas Republican primary. How? And by the way, he also, when asked about another Kansas primary where Senator Pat Roberts, who's more of an establishment Republican, easily won, when they said, okay, now why did Pat Roberts win? I mean, okay, you're on the more Tea Party side, he's more on the establishment side. Why did Pat Roberts win? He said, dissatisfaction with Obama. I literally can't figure that one out. Wait, so they're dissatisfied against Obama, so they're voting against you, but they're also voting for Pat Roberts? Just, you know, again, once you escape the realm of logic, you're out there somewhere floating in the universe. There's nothing to tether you. I mean, I can't make heads or tails out of it because it lacks reason altogether. You're out there in the universe somewhere. I can't do it. I was going to go to planet Uranus again. Okay. Okay, now. I'm telling you, now it's fun. Okay, let's go to the next story. I'm told by the Republicans that it's President Obama and the Democrats who keep bringing up the topic of impeaching President Obama. It's funny every time. Okay. Yes, they do fundraising off of it. It's not because they made it up. It's because Republicans keep talking about it. Just earlier in the week, we showed you Steve King talking about it, a Republican congressman from Iowa. Now here comes Joe Miller. He's a politician who's, of course, a Republican from Alaska. He had run against Lisa Murkowski and won the Republican primary there, but he lost the general election against her. And he says, Sarah Palin is right. It's time to impeach this president for dereliction of duty, selectively enforcing the law, and usurping powers that the Constitution does not authorize. He is willfully undermining the rule of law and creating chaos. Okay, all right, so a bunch of funny things there. First of all, I don't think Joe Miller's a Democrat. I'm pretty sure he's a really right-wing Republican. Look at that, he's the one mentioning impeachment. Second of all, I like how he compares Obama to Robert Baratheon, the usurper. Third of all, did you notice any specific charges there, any high crimes or misdemeanors? No. You're violating the Constitution, kind of. He's a usurper or something, you know? Chaos, chaos, general chaos. They have no reason to impeach him. They just don't like the guy. So they just want to keep talking about it. But he's not alone. Just today, again, some Tea Party groups have declared, quote, National Impeach Obama Week. Wait. Let me understand this. Is it Democrats or Republicans who are bringing this up? I'm pretty sure the Tea Party is more on the Republican side, not on the Democratic side. That's apparently the week of August 23rd. They will be holding rallies which no one will attend, okay, but they're all gung-ho about it. So when asked, hey, guys, why do you want to impeach him? I love this quote. Gerald Ford said after the Nixon was forced to resign under threat of impeachment that an impeachable offense is whatever the Congress will vote for at a given time. We're not here to argue about what is impeachable, but to demand that this lawless, subversive, and anti-American president be removed from office. In other words, you know our reason for impeachment? Jack shit. Nada. Nothing. Crapola. I don't know. I don't need an impeachable offense. I mean, I don't know. Ford, who's a Republican, once said you don't need a reason. So I'm not going to argue about impeachable offenses. He's just lawless. Chaos! Anti-American Solyndra Benghazi! Voltramax! Wait, that's on our side. Doesn't matter. I hate the dude. Let's impeach him. But by the way, it's the Democrats saying impeachment. Come on. That's awesome. Okay, we're not done yet with goofy Republicans. Now let's go to Oklahoma. Okay. Garvin County GOP decided they're going to hold a fundraiser. Good for them, all right? And they put out a little press release about this, or at least flyers. And they're going to raise money for the Republicans in this county in Oklahoma by doing, quote, a GOP bean feed. Oh, boy. And they have a bean there with a little sombrero on its head. Very clever. And then down at the bottom, it says this. That they are going to talk about. They've invited Governor Mary Fallin, And she was apparently supposed to come. I have an update, of course, on that in a second. But at the bottom there, they say that they're going to talk about things that you may not know about the NRA, Planned Parenthood, Ku Klux Klan, and other organizations. Now, a lot of people's heads exploded because they mentioned the KKK there in a GOP flyer. I actually am going to give them a break on that. I don't think that they were going to get together and talk about how awesome the KKK is. Based on my reading of that, I think what they were going to say is like, oh, did you know that the KKK was originally Democratic? Yeah, and Martin Luther King was Republican, right? That's the nonsense claims they always make. Yes, look, a lot of Democrats, including Senator Byrd from West Virginia for a long time, was originally in the Ku Klux Klan. That's because the Democrats used to be the conservative party, and the Republicans were the liberal party. And then they switched. The part they never tell you about is the switch. Now, do you think the KKK were the liberals in the South? Now, nobody thinks that, right? They can't even say that with a straight face. But that's probably the information they wanted to put out there. But since they put KKK on the flyer, it became toxic. But to me, that's not the point. The point is the bean with the sombrero on it. So they're going to get together and be like, oh, yeah, it's actually the Democrats who are racist. But let's talk about the beans. Gee, I wonder where they're going with that. Why did they call it a GOP bean feed? And I don't know if you've noticed, but lately the Republicans are a little mad about immigration. And will you look at that? They put a sombrero on the bean. Doesn't quite take a rocket scientist to figure out where they're going with that. And then they're like, see, it's actually the Democrats who are racist. Wait, did we put that on the flyer ourselves? So, of course, Mary Fallon has decided to give backpedal. I didn't say I was going. I'm not going. No. I don't know what you're talking about. No. I'm against Mr. Bean. Or I'm in favor. I'm KKK. Wait. I don't know. I'm against everything that the Democrats are for, but I don't know. I'm not going. Okay. There's Mr. Bean. Come on, dude. Mr. Bean. Okay. So I guarantee you that when we put this up on YouTube, there's going to be people like, you don't know that's anti-Mexican. Okay, you're right. You're seeing racism everywhere, man. That's not, no, it's just, what, Beaner? No, never heard of that, no. Oh, sombrero, could be anything, could be German. All right, we'll be right back.
That was a segment from hour one of the show.
Now for the better hour, the second hour.
Drums. You can get the whole show on TYT-network.com.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Anna is a great hour ahead for you guys. Let me read some tweets as usual. And as usual, there's now a million at hashtag TYT Live. First, in the middle of the show, not in Twitter Storm when it came up, Senora Tridora said, never forget 2014. Hashtag Voltramax. No, Republicans, we know what you're up to, man. You know what? That guy bringing up Voltramax in Twitter Storm was just to distract from, ironically, Voltramax. Think about it. Wyatt Parks says, Cenk, you look especially nice today. Why, thank you, Wyatt.
It's because of the jacket, dude. I like the jacket.
You like it?
Yeah.
You know, it's actually a jacket I've had for a long time. I just almost never wear it because it seems like it's so different. I don't know.
It's just a great jacket.
I don't know.
I can't wait for Francis to give you some tips on fashion, especially when you start losing a little more weight, because you've lost weight and you. No.
But she's right about that, even though it's deeply offensive.
No, it's not offensive. Your suits aren't going to fit you anymore, so you're going to have to buy new ones. So
oh, sure, that's right. No, that's the thing. It's because clothes are largely made for thin people. And so when people who are a little overweight put on clothes, they don't look as good in them. And it's really, really hard to find fashionable, great-looking clothes for bigger people. I know.
That's not even what I was referring to. But
sure,
Go ahead and put words in my mouth. All right.
No, I'm sure that you meant it that way, but it's true. Like, that's like people will be like, oh, there's a great-looking sweater vest.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. Anyway, and they certainly don't say it that way. And they're like, oh, why don't you try it on? I'm like, yeah, I know, dude. Yeah, that looks great on a guy who's 165 pounds and looks awesome, right? Here's what it looks like on me. Right? So anyway, Skeletor Farnsworth says most Africans aren't atheists, so why are they cursed with the Ebola outbreaks? Good question. Skeletor, it's so good to agree again. Oh, thanks God.
I know, it's been a while.
Oh, yeah. Whew. All right.
I do give him props for sticking around despite the fact that he disagreed with one of the bigger news stories of this month. So do you, boo. I love that. I respect that.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of guys who totally disagree with us on the Gaza situation, but God bless their hearts. They gave us their perspective day in, day out, and much love throughout. All right. So Trav Dedio says, how much paperwork can you have on your desk pre-show? Okay. Now, everybody who's ever seen the show live will see during the breaks that I got a million pieces of paper, because those are all the stories that I've prepared.
Right.
About half of which we get to every day. Anyway, and people are now saying I'm anti-environmentalist because I'm killing so many trees. Anyway.
Maybe we should get a teleprompter and read from a prompter like robots. That'll be fun.
But the main reason that I read his tweet is because then he put a hashtag every day I'm shuffling. That's really funny. All right, nice job. And finally, about us bombing ISIS, Lee Effin Watts says, America, fuck yeah. Time to save the motherfucking day. Yeah. And for once, we do agree. Look at us libs saying we're pro-bombing in this one instance. Well, actually, I'm pro-bombing in a couple of instances, but anyway. All right, let's do it.
All right, we actually start off with very, very good news. It's an update to a story that we did late last year. So the case involving Renisha McBride has come to an end. The man that fatally shot her in her face has been found guilty of second-degree murder. Now, to give you some background information on this case, it involved a young woman who had gotten into a severe car accident, and then hours later, as she was looking for help while she was intoxicated, she ended up on the front door, or in front of the door of the home of Theodore Wafer. He's a 55-year-old. Now, this happened very late at night, and I want to give you the details of this story. So apparently, McBride appeared at Wafer's house in Dearborn Heights, adjacent to Detroit, around 4:30 a.m. on November 2nd. She crashed her car nearby earlier that night, and no one knows her whereabouts in the several hours between the accident and her death. She was severely intoxicated. She knocked on Wafer's door, potentially looking for help. He came to the door and with a loaded shotgun and shot her in the face. Now, he claimed that he did so in self-defense, and of course there were some people arguing that, yeah, maybe it was self-defense because it is 4:30 in the morning, and if someone's knocking at your door, you might be frightened. However, to give you more details about what happened that night, even though he claims he was severely frightened, he never called 911, and also he changed his story. Initially, he told police officials that that him shooting her was an accident, and then later on he changed his story to say that it was self-defense.
So, his lawyer throughout the trial said, no, he was so scared, you have to understand, and he did it because of that. But then there's a couple of problems. First of all, as the Huffington Post explains, Wafer shot McBride through his locked screen door. Okay, so but you didn't ask any questions, and the first thing you did with someone at the door was you shot him in the face, right? Problem number two, he said during his testimony, quote, I wasn't going to cower in my house. I didn't want to be a victim. So in other words, well, I'm not going to be a victim. So wait, I thought you were deeply afraid. Your lawyer said that he was afraid, quote, to the depth of his being. But now you're telling me you didn't want to cower, you wanted to be aggressive. You didn't want to be a victim. You were going to go out there without asking questions. You were going to shoot him in the face first, right?
Yeah. So the jury felt that his testimony was inconsistent. There were several, inconsistent portions of it. And so that's why they found him guilty of second-degree murder. Now, to give you a sense of how much time he could face behind bars, he does face a potential life sentence. However, of course, it's up to the judge's discretion. He could get a mandatory 2-year penalty for being in possession of a firearm while committing a felony. So he's going to get a minimum of 2 years. He's definitely going to get more than that. But, the longest sentence he could get is life behind bars. He is 55 years old.
So there's a second-degree murder, there's the manslaughter, and then there's basically the gun charge, and that's felony murder, right? And so, or at least a 2-year penalty for being in possession of the firearm while committing the felony. Okay, so one more thing. The lawyer said it's not about Renisha, the girl who was shot in the face. It's about what her actions and other person's actions did to make Ted in fear for his life that night. You always need to go back and look at this through Ted's eyes. Okay, well, first of all, that's not really true. You have to look at it through everybody's eyes, right? But the first part of that is really interesting. It's not what Renisha did. It's what other people that are, what, I don't know, presumably like her did. Other person's actions that made Ted fear for his life that night. So it seems like they're generally saying, like, what was he going to do? You got a 19-year-old black girl on the porch. Of course, because of other people's actions, he was afraid for his life. Like, I don't even understand that argument. That argument seems to be saying, you know, if you see a young black girl on your porch, of course you're going to shoot her in the face, right? And of course they don't say black, they're not that stupid, right? But I mean, look at the words. Other people's actions did to make Ted fear for his life. What other people, right? It seems like that you're saying other people that kind of, what, are either in the neighborhood or look like her, etc.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, I mean, they did not play their cards right, because I remember when we initially covered this story, I admitted that if I were in his position, I would be scared, right? If someone was knocking at my door at 4:30 in the morning, I would be frightened, right? But you have to think about the way that it was handled. The first thing I would do is grab my cell phone, call 911. He claims that he couldn't find his cell phone, which is why he didn't call 911, right? But I wouldn't think, oh my God, let me grab a gun and shoot this person through a locked door. Right? And also, you know, in Michigan, they have the castle doctrine. And that is a way of self-defense if you're in your home and someone's trying to barge in. But there was no evidence that she was trying to break in. So that also went against his testimony and what he was claiming happened that night. No
one blames him for being scared.
Yeah.
But we do blame him, and apparently the jury blamed him to the point where they convicted him of second-degree murder, of shooting first before asking any questions. I mean, how do you know it wasn't a kid? How do you know it wasn't your aunt who came in? Well, he might know because of the skin color, because the person didn't look like him, right? Or maybe because of the age, or maybe just because he didn't recognize her. But just because you don't recognize someone doesn't mean you shoot them in the face. So I got to be honest with you, I'm surprisingly happy about this verdict, because there hasn't been a lot of verdicts to be happy about. There's been a lot of injustice in America. Not because, I don't know the guy, I don't have any personal animus towards him, but I like that we're setting a precedent that, hey, if somebody comes to your door, don't shoot them in the face. Okay, who are they? Ask a question first. Call the cops. You don't want to ask a question? You don't want to open the door? I get that. Call the cops. Don't shoot first.
All right, now we move on to something completely different. That was a serious story, but it was still a good outcome to that story, considering how our justice in the country has been really questionable lately. Anyway, moving on. Meta World Peace, also known as Ron Artest, is now going to play in China. He's no longer playing in the United States, and as a result, he thought, you know what, maybe it's a good idea to change my name from Meta World Peace to something a little more Chinese-friendly. Okay, so he tweeted out the following: new Chinese name coming soon. You guys are going to love it.
He was right. We love it.
You love it. I am annoyed by this story. And then he tweets out later that he changed his name to, what was it?
I love this. The Panda's Friend.
Yes. So people were reporting it as Panda Friend, and then he got really upset, and he's like, no, it's the Panda's Friend.
And there's no apostrophe. This dude is crazy. Okay, now look, he's sometimes crazy in a sweet way. You remember that song he recorded where
like a rap song about peace and love and stuff?
Not just that. I mean, the dude's name for a while at least was Meta World Peace, right? But the one where he wanted to protect like Afghan women and look out for women's rights.
No, okay. So here's the thing. Ron Artest is a. I'm going to call him Ron Artest because that's his respectable name. Okay. No Meta World Peace. No the Panda's Friend. Why is he doing this? No, I know why he's doing this. He's doing it for attention, and we're the suckers who decided to give him the attention that he wants. Anyway, just let me say one thing. He's a mixed bag because he is a good person. I've had a conversation with him. I remember I was doing like a red carpet interview thing. He was kind enough to to have a lengthy conversation with me, and he's sweet, he's caring, he's kind. Yes, he had a little bit of a kerfuffle in the NBA once,
Kerfuffle,
right?
He did. In fact, he thought about changing his name to Kerfuffle. The NBA's Kerfuffle.
But he's a good person, and I don't want him to fall victim to celebrity thirst. And I feel like that's what's happened.
I don't think that he's thirsty. Because I genuinely believe him, because he is kind of a sweet, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's kind of a simple guy, right? He's not playing a lot of games, right?
Really?
I don't think so. I mean, based on my reading of him, but I don't know him personally. Maybe I'm wrong about it. But I get the sense that he's like a guy who's like, I'm going to China. I should name it something Chinese, like, I don't know, the panda's friend. Who thinks that's Chinese, by the way? I mean, that's crazy. Don't name it that.
That's the second layer. Like, is that a little insensitive?
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, oh God, I'm so.
It's like going to Iran and changing your name to the friendly kebab. Like, it's just.
The camel's friend. Oh no! Don't do that! Don't do that! Don't do that! Right? So I'm just so glad that his Oriental is not in his name. Okay, but Ron, look, and I respect people who change their name, because I mean, this is a historic thing. I mean, we brought in Francis Maxwell here. He's with TYT Sports. He's going to tell us about some of the famous name changes here, right? But everybody knows Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and a lot of people would be disrespectful and would call him Cassius Clay. They'd never call him Muhammad Ali. But he was making a political statement, and one that was really important at that time.
Yes,
you got to respect that. But when you make your name the panda's friend, it's a little harder to respect that, right? So, Francis, tell us about some famous name changes in sports history.
Okay, so as you mentioned, Muhammad Ali is one of the most famous ones. There's also Chad Johnson, who changed his name to Chad Ochocinco because he was number 85 in the NFL. Elcinder Woods changed his name to Tiger Woods. Lloyd Bernard Free, who played for the 76ers in the NBA, changed his name to World B. Free. So I guess this is some sort of trait in the NBA where they change World Peace, World B. Free. Walker Smith Jr., Sugar Ray Robinson is what he changed to. And this one's pretty good, though. So Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr., who we know as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he changed his name, and it actually caused a little conflict, because Sherman Shaw, who's an NFL player, changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he spelled it with an I, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did not like this, so then he sued him, and now he changed it around, and it ended up becoming Abdul Kareem Al-Jabbar. So there's a conflict in there between that.
I remember when Chris Jackson changed his name to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Because look, all the ones who changed their name because they changed religions and they became Muslims, it's obviously a political statement, a religious statement. You got to respect it. I don't necessarily agree, but God bless, whatever. He used to not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, not the Pledge of Allegiance, when they did the national anthem before the basketball games, and then, so people got super mad. It's because he was really religious Muslim, and he says you're not supposed to care about any nationality. You're not supposed to, because you're supposed to put religion over your nationality. So then he eventually went to Turkey, like as Ron Artest just went to China, right? And he wouldn't stand up for the Turkish national anthem, and that did not go over well in Turkey. Okay, they're like, oh, you go take that freedom back to the, they're like, no, stand up. Because they're like, Turkey's like, hey, we're Muslim, but you stand up for the Turkish national anthem, okay? So that was fascinating. But and World Be Free was in some sense a political statement too. Yeah. It's just now we've entered the land of goofballs with the Ocho Cincos. And like, what's the political about it? Oh, it's 85, but get this, in Spanish. Ooh, okay, wow. And that's it. I'm not calling him the panda's friend. That's not. I got to go. Now I'm going all the way back to Ron Artest. I'm sorry. That's crazy.
And when he changed his name to Meta World Peace, you know, I respected it to some degree because I genuinely did feel like he was for peace. He released that song. I was like, okay, he's politically minded, whatever. But now that he's changed his name for the second time, and it seems frivolous and ridiculous, I don't respect the name change at all. I just want to call him Ron Artest because that's who he is. You're Ron Artest.
Yeah. Sorry. We actually generally love you, brother, but you're no Muhammad Ali. Okay. And I'm sorry, but you're not the panda's friend either. I don't know, did you ask the panda? Maybe he doesn't even like you. Oh, by the way, I'm changing my name to the king of the internet. You're going to have to call me that from now on. I'm sorry. So that's just what it is.
So I'll just call you Mr. Internet. Would you like, well, you would like that.
Yeah, Mr. Internet sounds pretty good, too. Somebody get me my belt.
Oh.
All right, thank you, Francis. Everybody check out TYT Sports. And Francis, let us know if you change your name, okay?
I will do. I'll change it to William Wallace if that's all right, but I think someone else might have that.
And then, could you imagine William Wallace sues you? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, good political statement, changing his name because he became Muslim. Not a good statement to sue someone else for having your name.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Let's take a break. When we come back, a really, really crazy story regarding animal cruelty. And then we are going to talk about a billionaire in Hong Kong who sues Google. I'll tell you why. You liked that, didn't you?
Well, if you like that, you'll love the whole show. TYTnetwork.com. Get the whole show as a member.